just going to add another couple of bucks, just another few weeks, just one more attempt to try to get closer, to try to recoup. It's a decision to not appear wasteful. You don't want to look like you've just squandered hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, so you continue to add good resources to a bad cause. Okay? Important. Emotions and mood, how do they affect decision making? Right? When you're in a bad mood, what do you tend to do?
Be naive and, not be naive, the opposite of naive. It's, you're more careful in your information, receiving information. You're actually, you're effective.
You're more of a risk taker. When you're in a good mood, you're more deliberate and more conservative and analytical. You don't want to get burnt, so you're very, very concerned with the nitpicking all the different parts of it. That's right. In a good mood, you tend to be a little bit more naive, a little bit more optimistic, a little bit rosy glasses, everything's going to work out just great, and you tend to be more of a risk taker when you're in a good mood. Okay? But when you're in a good mood, you tend to come up with what kinds of ideas? Creative. Out-of-the-box thinking requires a positive mood, a positive mindset. Okay? You're not going to get some great out-of-the-box ideas when you're in a foul mood. Pros and cons to make decisions using groups. Pros? Pros of group decision. More ideas?
Quality.
Quality?
Very vigilant.
Groups are vigilant, they keep an eye on each other and themselves. What else?
Acceptance and commitment.
Acceptance, so people are more committed to the decision. Cons?
Conflict.
Time.
Conflict.
Suppression of ideas.
Sometimes suppression of ideas. If there's high cohesion, some people might be self-censored. You said?
Well, it goes with dominance. So
That's
dominance
right.
tends to favor less people who aren't
That's right.
dominant.
There's a chance to polarize certain people in the group. All right, good. Risk of conflict, bullying within the group, that's right. Groupthink.
Group
I already-
is complicated.
Groupthink is complicated. What are the components of groupthink?
8 components.
Give me 3 of them.
Illusion of unanimity.
Unanimity. So you believe, are you unanimous? No, there's an illusion that you're unanimous. Sometimes people say, it must just be me. I don't want to be that lone person to be the constant nag saying, oh, should we? So you self-censor so that you have this illusion that everybody's on the same page. What else? I gave you self-censorship. Give me 2 more.
Rationalization.
What does that mean?
You basically, your problems and counter-arguments are ignored and rationalized away.
Yeah, Prof, that'll never happen.
Yeah.
Well, come on, that hasn't happened in 20 years. Who says it's going to happen on this project? So you try to find a quick way to get rid of any potential objections. Very good. One more?
Mind guards.
Mind guard. What's a mind guard?
Protecting group information method against this.
Yeah.
Sometimes we realize, oh my God, we spent so much time working on this and it's not going to work. But if they find out, they're going to have a cow. So we're just going to suppress this information. And eventually the group's going to come to the realization that this was a bad idea and I'm not going to hurt anybody's feelings. So sometimes we suppress information that might be detrimental to the well-being and the mindset of the group. Okay, good. Know these. Okay, understand these.
So the risk assessment was basically conservative and risky shifts.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. Know it. Just understand risky shifts versus conservative shifts. Right? Where you are when you start will determine in which direction you're going to pull. If you are conservative as an individual, you'll be more conservative in a group. If you're a bit of a risk taker on your own, and you've got a surrounding network that's kind of there to support you, you'll be more of a risk taker. So you tend to go in that direction, and then the dominant faction within the group will pull the whole group in that direction. Okay? 2 more chapters. Oh my goodness, almost done. All right, ethics. Give me one ethical dilemma managers face. Sexual harassment. Give me a second one. Ethical dilemma. Bribery. Give me another one. Favoritism. Pardon?
Workplace safety.
Word, yes, putting people at risk, right? Because it's too expensive to get the better equipment, so we'll just use this. Nothing's going to go wrong. It's always worked just fine, right? Okay? Nepotism. Favoritism. Okay, there's many different out there. Okay? Ethics is not about the rules, remember? Ethics is worrying about the moral consequences of our actions, not the legal consequences. If the law says you can't do it, you can't do it. That's not an ethical question. It's the moral consequences. It betrays what we consider to be right and wrong. Okay, it's our personal moral compass that dictates, and we base it on a societal moral compass of it's not right to cheat people out of money. Yes, there might be a technicality, it's a gray zone, everything in the ethical questions are gray zones, but it's just not the right thing to do. Okay? Sexual harassment, what can organizations do to prevent it? What's the first thing an organization can do to prevent sexual harassment?
Acknowledge it.
Acknowledge it. What else can they do?
Monitor it.
Monitor.
Punish it.
Punish it, act immediately. Yes, do not delay. What happens? What do some organizations do?
Closed ears.
The deaf ear syndrome. They choose not to hear about it. They choose to ignore that it exists. Some organizations put it into their corporate policies and people sign off, right, on a code of conduct. It is part of the code of conduct. It basically says that we know that this happens and they acknowledge that it happens, and therefore we're going to ensure that everyone who signs this is committed to not having it perpetuated. Okay? So codes of conduct are very good. Training is very good. Having a person that can be turned to is very good. All right? We're good? Yes? Ethics? Sexual harassment? Good. All right. Final chapter. We just did it recently. It's all fresh in your minds. Interpersonal conflict and its causes. What can cause conflict? Role conflict. What else? So what you do versus what you do. But interpersonal. What can cause interpersonal conflict? How do I bring about conflict?
Being rude. No. Okay, I'm gonna stop.
What can bring about conflict?
What side situation?
Competition. Red?
Power status.
Yes. One glass of water for thirsty people. Scarce resources. Right? Scarce resources. So you can bring about, so that can bring about conflict between two people because there's a competition for a limited resource. Okay, there's many other ways. Please read about that. It's very fresh. We just did it last week, so have a look at it. Types of conflict.
Task conflict.
Task, about what should be done. What's the other conflict?
Process.
Role, who does what? Process conflict, how it should be done. And then, relationship, right? The interpersonal side of it. Okay, read that please. Modes of managing conflict, we talked about this just, in fact, we did a little exercise, well, 2 days ago. Modes of managing conflict, what are the 5 modes?
Collaboration.
What is collaboration identified by? What are the 2 axes that we plotted on?
Maximum funds.
What is
Assertiveness.
assertiveness for yourself, your own precision, versus
Cooperative.
what's the bottom axis? What's the
Cooperativeness.
okay? How much you care about the other? Okay, so how much are you interested in the other person's outcome? How much are you interested in your own? Assertive versus cooperativeness. So what is low on both? Low assertive, low cooperative. What is that mode called?
Avoidance.
Avoidance. If you don't care about their needs, you don't care about your interests, you don't care. Avoidance. High on both. Collaboration. Collaboration is known as a win-win outcome because you win and they win. You're interested in your own interests and your own needs, and you're also interested in the other person's needs. Okay? Avoidance, collaboration, halfway. Kind of you give up something, they give up something, is a compromise. If you are dead set on your way and nobody else's, and you couldn't care less about theirs, competition, high assertive, low cooperation. What if you're very low assertive, high cooperation? Accommodating, right? You accommodate. You don't care about your perspective, you care more about theirs. You accommodate whatever they want. Those are the 5. Know the 5. But know them using the axes as well, okay? So make sure you know the definition of the 5. Stimulating conflict, right? We talked about that, right? Stimulating conflict, reduce resources, create competition. It's in your book, okay? You should actually know that. Stressor, stress, and stress reactions. It's a continuum, right? People worry too much about the stress, not enough about the stressor. Some people, in fact, just deal with the stress reaction. Oh, I'm stressed, I'm going to go have a drink. 3 reactions to stress. 3 reactions to coping with stress reactions. What are they?
Behavioral.
There's behavioral, such as
Throwing things, reacting back.
violence, substance abuse, yes. Okay? Maybe seeking help, because it's behavioral, which is good. Seeking help addresses possibly the source of the stress. So behavioral, what's the second one?
Compatible. Psychological.
Psychological. Psychological reaction to stress, which would be what? What's an example of a psychological reaction to stress?
Burnout.
Ultimately, burnout can be the ultimate reaction, that's right. Okay? Psychological is the effect the stress has on you. The third one is physiological. So behavioral, psychological, physiological reactions to stress. Okay? Yes? So reread that, okay? Please reread that. Stressors, stress, and stress reactions. The best solutions are strategies that cope with the stressor, not just with the stress. Okay? Because otherwise, you get rid of the immediate reaction, but you don't fix the problem long term. Okay? Personality. Which personalities tend to deal with stress a little bit better? Personality dimensions of the big 5. Internal locus of control. And people who are high on which?
High in positive.
Emotional stability.
Emotional stability is probably good. And conscientiousness. Okay, conscientiousness always comes up at the top of most of the lists. Okay? Sources, there are there's 4 kinds of stress. 3 positions. Top of the organization, what kind of stressors do they experience? Top of the organization. Managers and executive. There's 2 kinds of stress that they experience. Role overload and heavy responsibility. Right. Their work never ends and they're responsible for a lot of people. Very good. That's the managerial and executive level stressors. Then we have people who are working in the trenches, people working in day-to-day. What are those stressors called? Operative level stressors. Give me an example of one. Sorry. Excessive, so the environment, right? The environment they work in, excessive heat, cold. Okay, what else? One more. It's 2:30. I'm sorry. Okay. Know those 3. Then we have boundary role stressors, people who break that imaginary line, right? People who deal with the outside and the inside of the organization. And we have general stressors. One general stressor that everybody faces. Work, family, that's always the winning answer. All right. Understand reaction to stress, understanding managing for stress. Again, it's from all your notes that I gave you this term. I'm sorry that we had to go through this so quickly, but that's pretty much the term. The exam will be based on everything that we've talked about in class. If you have any questions, you're welcome to email me, and I'm happy to come and meet with you. Good luck on the exam. I'll see you all on the 14th. Bye. We're going to do a complete review. I will ask you questions to make sure that you're clear on the topics. Some of them are very straightforward. So again, chapters 2 through 6, then chapters 7, 8, 9, then 11, 12, 13. We're not covering chapter 10 like we discussed early on. So, in chapter 2, personality and its role in influencing organizational behavior. Remember, everything we do is about the behavioral side of it, trying to predict behavior. So you have to understand the role personality plays. It appears over and over, and you know that it happens in multiple chapters down into the course that we did on motivation, on leadership, and everything else. It will appear again. So although it's in chapter 2, it could be applied in later chapters. Dispositional, situational, and interactionist. We've reviewed this. This is again from your midterm. You can expect about 30% of the exam to be first half, about 70% to be second half. Both multiple choice and short and long answer questions. 5-factor model of personality. Ocean. We've gone through that already. Just make sure that you remember what each one is. Read them, and you can say agreeable, but agreeable doesn't mean likes power, right? You don't want agreeable as friendly, so what does friendly want? We want to make sure that we're clear on the word we use has to correspond with the definition of that word. So please just review. On the midterm, I noticed a couple of places where some people had misinterpreted little bits of information in terms of the definition. Locus of control, internal versus external. Self-monitoring. Okay, self-monitoring is comparing oneself based on others, your surroundings, your environment, and adapting accordingly. Okay? Self-esteem contributes to sense of self, contributes to how one deals with situations. Doesn't matter if it's adversity, doesn't matter if it's about managing conflict. It does come up in various chapters down the road as well. Okay? Learning. So the things people learn. What are the 3 things we learn? Learning. Inter and intrapersonal skills between people, as well as technical skills, yes, and cultural awareness. Okay? Review it. Okay? Very, very straightforward. Operant learning. What does operant mean? Operant. Learning by doing. Okay? So learning by doing. Operant learning, you do the activity, that's how you become better at it. You link positive and negative reinforcements in there, trying to strengthen the stimulus for repeating a wanted behavior or getting rid of an undesirable behavior. The notion of reinforcement, there's in your book, it's very clearly explained. Understand when you want to use immediate versus delayed and continuous versus partial. Okay? Extinction and punishment, don't confuse extinction with punishment. Extinction is doing nothing, right? Extinction is ignoring. Some of you on the midterm, I think one of the questions, I think a multiple choice question came up. Some of you thought of extinction as an act. Okay, there's no acting. Extinction is ignoring the undesirable behavior. Okay, don't forget that. Social cognitive theory. Social, between people, cognitive, requiring thought. Right, so thinking about learning through your environment. It's intentional. It's not a by accident thing. It's not reactionary. It's thought-provoked and thought-provoking. So you consider the consequences. You consider the appropriate behaviors and you act accordingly. Observational learning. Okay, learning by observing, watching, seeing what gets rewarded, what gets punished, and acting accordingly. Self-efficacy beliefs. Your belief in your own ability to do something, or belief that you are capable of doing something, task-related. Okay? Self-regulation. How much do I dose myself? Do I involve myself a lot, a little? Again, going back to the observational side of the way you learn. Questions? That's it for chapter 2. It's very straightforward. Straight from your notes. If there's any question or something that is ambiguous, please ask me now. Lovely. Perception, attribution, and diversity. Define perception, right? You have 3 things for perception. What are the 3 components of perception?
Receiver, target, situation.
Perceiver, target, situation. Thank you. The perceiver, the one who perceives, has to be perceiving something, the target, and it's done in a context, in a situation. All 3 will impact what is perceived. The famous expression, perception is reality. So although somebody is sending off a message or giving off a particular perspective, doesn't mean that the perceiver will see that. It's influenced by the perceiver's point of view, by the situation as well. What influences perception? Okay, so some of the experiences, values, attitudes, okay, that are involved on both the perceiver and the target, as well as the situation having influence from a situational perspective, okay? Situational as opposed to disposition. Bruner, what do you say, Bruner? When something is unfamiliar to us, what does Bruner say? We are talking about the cues. What are we looking for?
Ignore. Open and we just close it, no?
Okay, we don't know something, where something is unfamiliar to us. If I hold this up for the first time, you don't know what this is. You are...
We are observing all the cues and then we're associating them to a general categorization that we already know of, and then you start ignoring the ones that don't fit in with the categorization.
Very good. So very open at the beginning, looking for everything to try to identify it in order to categorize it. You're trying to find a way to turn this from something ambiguous to something that you can reference in your mind. Once you reference it, once you categorized it, you stop looking for other cues. In fact, you ignore cues, okay, you push them out of your mind if they go against your initial categorization. Okay, so Bruner is important. Don't forget Bruner. Describe biases. The main bias is in person perception. Give me one. Give me one bias.
Privacy.
Primacy effect. Recency.
Stereotyping.
Okay.
Subject thought, when you project your thoughts on the other.
Projection. Implicit personality.
Reliance on single traits.
Reliance on central traits. Very good. Okay? So biases, just read them. Be able to pull up a couple if you can. Describe how people form attributions. What is the definition of attribution? What is an attribution?
It's how we assign causes on people's motives.
People's
Actions?
action, behaviors, right? We assign cause. I'm trying to understand what is this behavior caused by or a function of. So the attribution is important. We have to be able to describe how we form these attributions. What causes behavior, right? What is it? Is it the person, which would be called dispositional? It's that person. It's their personality. They always behave that way all the time. Very dispositional. Or it might be the situation. Therefore, it would be situational, exactly. Okay, or the context in which this happens. Bias is an attribution. Sometimes we assign an attribution or we assign a cause to a behavior based on a bias. And there are biases in attribution. Can you give me one?
Fundamental attribution.
Fundamental attribution error is based on, yes, that was, you're right, thank you. Fundamental attribution error wasn't perception. Self-serving bias. Actor-observer effect. What's the difference between self-serving bias and actor-observer?
Self-serving is when it serves you, you've done something good.
Okay, so you are, we'll call you the actor, I'm the observer. Okay, so I'm watching a situation, you're the one doing it. Self-serving bias, what happens? What do you do?
I think that if it's good, it's because of me. If it's bad, it's because of the environment.
That's right.
Situation.
And if I see it from my perspective, okay, the actor-observer effect, I will tend to lay blame on the actor. Okay, the actor-observer effect, the actor thinks that when something goes right, it was probably the situation. Things go wrong, it was probably the actor. Self-serving bias is the exact opposite. Okay? Good. Workforce diversity and value diversity. We don't just look at cultural diversity. We look at religious diversity, sexual orientation. We look at different ethnic backgrounds, of course, gender, age. Okay, so many different aspects to diversity, and how do we value it? How do we put it front and center, saying this is a good thing to be diverse? Give me an example of something we could do to value diversity. Cultural awareness training and days as well. What else? What other thing? What can an organization do? Celebrate whatever. Celebrate the new year. Celebrate the religious holidays. Celebrate the various cultural or the diversity holidays, if you will. So whether it be appreciation days, different ethnic background and their traditional holidays as well. Okay, so anything that basically takes the cultural component or the diverse component away from a token, look, we've got so many people working for us, yay for us, and taking it away from token status and making it central to the way we conduct our business. Truly valuing the differences that people bring, young, old, male, female, ethnically diverse as well, linguistically diverse. Okay? Questions? Fantastic. Values. Cross-cultural variation in values. Remember, you should have a look at Hofstede. Make sure you look at the Hofstede studies and look. I'm not going to ask you what is Japan. Tell me what it is on power distance. But you should know where it is. If you say, provide an example, you should be able to just throw out an example of a country that would be high or low on one of the dimensions. Okay, so have a look at Hofstede. So the cultural, we know that there are differences. What did his study look at? How many different dimensions did he study? Which were? What are the four? I gave you one already. Power distance.
Masculinity.
Masculinity, femininity.
Individualism, collectivism.
Individual, collective.
Strong.
Uncertainty avoidance. That's That's right. Okay, good. Read that, please. Make sure you know that. Just be comfortable with it. Attitudes. How do people form attitudes? What's the formula for attitude?
Values and
Values plus?
beliefs.
Values plus beliefs leads to attitudes, which impact behavior, actions. Exactly. Can you change attitudes? Can attitudes change? What will change? How do you get attitudes to change? Change your beliefs. Values don't often change, but beliefs, if you're presented with new information, can lead you to think differently. Therefore, having an impact on your attitudes, which of course will impact your behaviors. Good. Keep that in mind. Job satisfaction. Contributes, things that contribute to job satisfaction. You're looking at the notion of discrepancy. Discrepancy. Remember? What is discrepancy?
It's what you think against what you receive.
Yes, you compared to you. What you believe a job should provide versus what you actually provide. If you think a job should pay $50,000 and you make $50,000, there's no discrepancy. So there's no room for dissatisfaction. You'd be satisfied. If you believe, on the other hand, that you should be making 50 and the job pays 30, then there's a gap. And that gap is the discrepancy from what you receive compared to what you think you should receive. The notion of fairness. 3 kinds of fairness. What are they? Procedural fairness. Distributive and interactional. Very good. Okay, so it's the interactional is the way it's communicated, correct? Distributive is the way in which it is divided up. And procedural is the way it's divided up, excuse me. Distributive is the what. What is given out. So how much resource is given to whom? Okay, so the 3 levels of fairness, 3 types of fairness. You just know the definition. The role that personality, mood, and emotion play in job satisfaction. Okay, remember that as well. Disposition, mood, and emotion we'll talk a little bit more about mood and emotion in subsequent chapters. Understanding the relationship between job satisfaction again and various other facets. So absenteeism. Okay, remember some of these are not perfect relationships. Turnover, performance. If you're satisfied, do you perform better?
Yes.
Yes, typically. But
Not always.
why not always?
Such as one of the factors,
Such as
personality.
personality,
Oh, whether or not you know your work.
skills, absolutely. The tools, emotional intelligence, cognitive ability, exactly. So while it does impact, it's not a perfect relationship. It doesn't exactly correlate one-to-one. Okay? Organizational citizenship behavior. What are the characteristics of OCB? Spontaneous,
Voluntary.
voluntary,
Not rewarded.
not rewarded or formally recognized by the organization, and contributes to
The organization.
the organization itself. It can't just be nice. It can't be a nice thing you do just because. It's a nice thing you do just because. That also helps your organization. Good. Customer satisfaction, the links with more satisfied the employee, the more likely it is that the customer will also be satisfied. You can often, as they say, hear a smile on the phone, right? You'll hear people in a good mood. You'll see a clerk, you'll see an agent, you'll see a rep, you'll see a manager who is happy with his or her employees, and it lets you feel that you're working with a decent organization. Okay, so it contributes to customer satisfaction, which in turn will lead to organizational success. Continuance. So 3 levels of commitment. We talked about them already. What's affective? Why do you stay? You stay with an organization because you want to. Continuance. You need to. You have to. You have no other options. Normative commitment. You feel like you should. That's right. You believe in what they stand for. So it's doing it because you feel it is the right thing to do. You believe in their values as well, or you share values. Clear enough? Questions? No questions? Relatively straightforward chapter. You good? All right. We have 2 sections, right? 2 chapters on motivation. The first is the theory, and then we'll look at motivation in practice. Motivation and its basic properties. Define motivation. What are the 3 basic pieces of motivation? Effort, persistent, direction, and the goal, exactly. So it's not about effort, not about a goal, it's about all of them together. It's not trying once, it's trying repeatedly. Okay, so persistent effort in the direction of a target, objective, a goal. All right, very good. Intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. What are we looking at? Intrinsic stems from within. What would bring about intrinsic motivation? How does one develop intrinsic motivation?
Interesting jobs.
Interesting job, absolutely. What else?
The feeling of accomplishment.
Feeling of accomplishment, excellent. Okay, extrinsic motivators, give me one. Money, the easiest one, yes. Okay, coming from outside, therefore you are not in control of it. Okay, you can chase after money, but it doesn't mean you're going to get money. Intrinsic motivators come in from an outside source. Self-determination theory, autonomous motivation. Autonomous motivation is another way of saying intrinsic motivation, coming from within. So you motivate yourself. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second. So autonomous motivation, controlled motivation is another way of saying extrinsic. As in the control of your motivation, if you are driven by external factors, comes from outside. Okay, it's controlled by external sources. Okay? Read through them, understand what they mean. Understand the differences if I ask you to contrast them. Okay? What predicts performance? General cognitive, that's right, there's motivation, of course. Personality contributes to it as well. Which personality, by the way, is a good predictor of performance? Conscientiousness, very good. Yes, the most reliable one in terms of predicting performance. But of course, general cognitive ability, in English, intelligence, smarts, okay? Your ability to manage data, right? General cognitive ability is your ability to store information and draw upon it when you need to. So if you've got a higher capacity for that, then chances are you'll be able to work in an environment where knowing information or being able to manipulate information is important. Okay, all of you are definitely higher than average in the general cognitive ability department because you're in university. Just getting in automatically separates you from those who did not get in or those who didn't even bother to pursue it. Okay, so we're looking at general ability, emotional intelligence, the ability to control, manage yours and others. That's right, and regulate according to the situation and according to what is appropriate in that time. Okay, so there's many levels. Begins with first understanding your own before you can actually understand the others, and then eventually use emotion as a communication tool and as a method of interacting with people. Okay, because mood and emotion can get in the way, right, if it's not managed properly. Questions? None? Okay. We talked about no Maslow, no Herzberg. Okay, we're not looking at anything else. We're looking at McClellan for our intents and purposes. 3 levels of needs. What are they?
Affiliation, power.
Affiliation, power, achievement. Yes, thank you, Kira. Okay, 3 needs. So you have to be able to, we already did this on the midterm, you've seen it, so chances are it won't be a long essay question, but it certainly can come up in the multiple choice sections. Many people have already done it. Make sure you understand the differences between the 3. Expectancy. Expectancy theory. What are the components?
Outcomes.
Good. How many levels of outcomes? 2. Okay, what's the first level outcome? What is the first level outcome? Pardon? Who benefits from the first level outcome? The organization. Who benefits from the second level outcome? You do. There you go. So we've got outcomes, first and second level outcomes. How attractive are these? What do we call that?
Valence.
Valence. What is the value? How do we perceive it? The valence of the outcomes. If we value this in terms of, how do you value a first level outcome? You have to believe that you can do it, correct? And you also have to believe that a first level outcome will lead to a second level outcome. What is that link called?
Instrumentality.
Instrumentality. One is instrumental in achieving the next, right? It has to be able to link. If there's a low instrumentality, no guarantee that you're going to reach that second level outcome, how hard are you going to pursue the first level outcome?
Not very hard.
Not much, very little. If it's a guarantee, you know that something is in it for you at the end of the day, when you've achieved the first level outcome, that leads to a second level outcome in your favor, you're more likely, the higher the instrumentality, the more likely you are to be motivated to achieve the first level outcome. You know that stuff, okay? So we said valence, instrumentality, outcomes, force. How much effort? You will put in more effort when? When the instrumentality is higher and
Your second level outcomes are attractive?
the second level outcome has a high valence. Exactly. You understand that? You all get any questions about that? Know the terms, please, and use the terms. Valence, not value. Not instrumental, but I'm using it to help you understand, but it's instrumentality. Please understand the words, okay? Equity theory. How does equity theory work? What does it compare? Inputs to outcomes between yourself and somebody in a comparable situation. So people around you, I would not expect to compare myself to the president of the university, but I would compare myself, what I put in versus what I get out, my inputs to my outcomes, compared to someone similar, say another professor. Okay? And we like that it be balanced. If I work 20 hours and make $50,000, and they work 40 hours and make $100,000, is it equitable? Yes. They make twice my salary, but they also work twice my hours. Okay, so equity doesn't mean equality. Don't forget that. Goal setting theory. Why is goal setting theory good?
That's goals.
It sets goals.
Specific and challenging.
Pardon?
Specific and challenging.
Because you can set specific and challenging goals and gives purpose and orientation to your effort.
Raises commitment?
Pardon?
Raises commitment?
Raises commitment to the attainment of the goal. Okay, and also when people are involved in the goal setting, right, higher leads to satisfaction and higher level of probability of success. Okay, so just have a quick read of goal setting theory as well. Cross-cultural limitations of these theories. Does equity theory work everywhere?
No,
Why?
because some cultures are different than others, so some cultures are more collaborative and some are more individualistic.
In a collective society,
Yeah.
equity theory might not be so good because we're not going to compare individual outcomes to others because we're not an individualistic society. Works great in North America. Which of these works best pretty much anywhere? Goal setting is pretty good. Expectancy is probably the best. Goal setting works because goal setting works all over the world and different goals can be set according to different cultural differences. Expectancy theory is universal because it puts a value to an outcome that is valuable to an individual. If the outcome is collective, it can be a collective high valence outcome. It could be an individualistic outcome. So it's universal or it's applicable in many different situations because of the fact that it links what's good for the organization to what's good to the individual. Okay? So culturally, we like the idea of expectancy. Good? Questions? That's on the theories of motivation. We're good? All right. So in practice, money as a motivator, good? Yes. The be-all and end-all? No, not the everything. It is good. It is not the only motivator. Why? Because it is extrinsic. So it has limited utility. You can't just keep piling money on to somebody's paycheck and think they're just going to be more and more and more motivated. Eventually, either we run out of skill or ability or we get to exhaustion, but at some point external motivators cease to work and you need to develop, not extrinsic, but intrinsic reasons for continuing to be motivated. Okay, so it's great, but it is limited. Job design as a motivator addresses the intrinsic side of things, right? So we can make a job more interesting. The job itself becomes a source of motivation. That is a good thing. That is good because then you don't have to throw more money on it. People will do the job because the job is enjoyable to do. Or it's tweaked to people's strengths and it makes the actual job the motivator as well as the task to be completed. We use the idea of job design to be able to, we like that idea, so we want to be able to manipulate the characteristics. Okay, we can manipulate certain characteristics. We know 5. They're on the board. We know skill variety, task identity, task significance, autonomy and feedback. Know that. Make sure you understand the interrelationships.
Should we know how those link to the psychological and then the outcomes? Or is that
There's-
just added?
There's not going to be any of the math, you don't have to do the equation. No, there won't be any math on the exam, so you don't have to worry about that component.
Will we know,
It
is
leads-
it, variety, identity, and significance, will we know that means like meaningfulness?
That's right.
We should know that?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, there's the,
Sorry.
so, for example, increased autonomy leads to
I'm reading, but is that responsibility?
perception of responsibility, exactly. Okay, so yes, what are the psychological states that manipulating these characteristics lead to? How do you feel about it? Why would you want to make job design a motivator? Well, because if you manipulate a certain part of it, giving people, an understanding of the work and what it has amounted to gives them a sense of importance and significance. Certainly, task significance, knowing that the impact your work has on other people gives you a sense of self that is far greater than if you didn't know the outcome. Okay, so yes, understand that. Job enrichment involves manipulating one or more of the job characteristics, the core job characteristics, right? You enrich a job. Do you add more tasks? Just adding more tasks? You can combine tasks. Can you add more tasks to a person's job?
Yes.
When would it be good? When would it be bad? Give me an example of a good task.
Good when it makes their job more interesting and it challenges them.
Okay, meaning, so it makes it more meaningful, gives them more skills to learn. What else would be a good time? Okay, horizontal or vertical?
Vertical.
What does vertical mean?
Vertical is climbing up the ladder.
Vertical means you're developing skills that might be a little bit higher than the level you're at now. So you're developing new skills that are more challenging. Horizontal is what? What do we call that?
Job enlargement.
Job enlargement. When a job just gets bigger, where you're just working more hours of the same task, you're not learning anything new. You're just taking on the tasks or the function of multiple people. That's job enlargement. We don't like that. So we don't like the idea of horizontal. We like the idea of vertical job loading in order to enrich a job. Okay? Yes? We're good? Goal setting and management by objectives. Now, we talked about MBO, management by objectives. Top level objectives for the organization are then translated down to functional areas. The functional area leaders meet individually with employees, set out a work plan or a series of activities that that individual needs to learn or needs to accomplish. There's monitoring throughout a period. We keep an eye on how that person is progressing, where they're having trouble, where they're doing well, and then at some point that is predetermined, in 6 months, in a year, we reevaluate. We do an appraisal. How have you done? All the coaching I've given you, all the training we've given you, what has it amounted to? At that point, we reassess, and we start the cycle over again. Okay? Starts at the top, goes to the manager level, manager meets to set and establish mutually agreed upon goals. There's monitoring, and then there's an appraisal. Right? That's the paperwork part of the exercise. Okay? Good. An example of an alternative work schedule. Give me one. Flex time. Compressed work week. Give me an example of a compressed work week.
Working 3 days for like 12 hours maybe.
That's a tough one. 312 or 440. Okay? Good. So flex time, compressed work week, telecommuting,
Job share.
job sharing. Very good. Okay, employee diversity. Now, we're not looking at diversity from the point of a cultural diversity. What if, very often some organizations will reintegrate a woman who's gone on mat leave by bringing her in part-time or allowing part of the time to be able to work from home to allow a telecommute so she can be with her child as she gradually returns into the workforce. So the diversity could involve many different things. It could involve people having different interests, different likes. Some people are morning people, others are afternoon people. Allowing people to work at times that are best suited to them while still achieving the organization's objectives is a good thing. You don't lose control. In fact, you empower the employees by allowing them to have more flexibility and more of a diverse approach to their work. Okay? Good? Questions? Guys are good. All right. Now we're in the second half of the semester. Groups, formal and informal groups. Formal groups organized by the organization, structured by the corporation, the company, the entity somehow to achieve a particular goal. They are put together for the benefit of the organization and they're mandated to do specific work. Informal groups arise. They arise out of interest, out of necessity, out of opportunity. They're not formally recognized by the organization. You don't have a division that sits together at lunch for a particular purpose. There are people that just gravitate together around common interests more often than not. Okay? Stages of group development. What are the stages? Forming,
Storming,
Forming.
forming, joining.
norming, performing, and adjourning. That's right. So that's 5. You form, get to know them, storm, norm, perform, and adjourn. Right. Can you skip some of the steps?
Yes, me.
Why?
Because not every group has,
What do you know?
When you know each other,
Organization does it for you.
when the organization does it for you, you may already know the employees, or you may already have a preset group of standards. You may already know exactly what the norms are, because you're part of the same organization. So you don't need to go through that whole developing group norms to make you feel like you can all do the same thing. Okay? So yes, you can skip, you can accelerate through and go right into the performing stage, especially within an organization. Punctuated equilibrium, how many phases?
3,
Such as, what are they?
phase 1, midpoint.
Midpoint transition, which is not really a phase, but it's a transition point, really. It's a moment in time. And then phase 2, which is towards, you accelerate towards the deadline, right? Phase 1, what happens?
It's, your first meeting is very important, so how that goes and how you gel and how you try to form your future challenges and goals.
Okay, and everyone's working, right? In phase 1, are they working harmoniously together, everything working
No.
smooth?
No.
Not necessarily, they're working, everybody's working, but in all directions. There's no set exact point in which to focus on. That is used at the midpoint, right? The midpoint meeting, that moment where we realize, oh my goodness, we've got only half the time left, a decision is made. Things that we were doing, that everyone was doing differently, are narrowed down to a smaller number of very tangible objectives, and everyone focuses all their effort onto those. The second level, the second phase of the punctuated equilibrium model is basically everybody working on the same page, okay, towards the goal. Clear? We're good with punctuated equilibrium? Okay, you got that right? Good. Group structure and its consequences. So, let's look at the notion of, if I ask you about it, group structure in terms of size and member diversity. For, what's an additive task? What's an additive task?
Combined effort. The performance is based on combined efforts of the group members.
Okay, so the performance is based on the sum of the efforts, so the combined efforts of multiple people. Give me an example of an additive task.
Building a house.
Building a house, perfect, okay? So, the more,
So isn't, like, any task additive?
is any task additive?
Because isn't additive just about how much work everyone does to, you know, to complete something?
Well, there's different titles for them, so not every task is additive. You don't have, additive task is, I do a part, you do a different part, you do a different part, and
Oh,
together, building a car, building a house.
So
You
it's
can't
not
have 20 carpenters.
It's not about the level of effort, it's just about the different tasks being done. Okay.
Exactly, adding tasks up together to result in a final product that is the sum of the parts,
Correct.
correct?
But not all, like additive tasks, they're not completely additive, right? Because at one point adding more people is useless, so would you need to state that, or is it okay? Just,
Well, I mean, how many is useless?
I mean, but you wouldn't need 1,000 people to build a house.
No, so, but is 1 better or 10 better?
Then,
Okay, so group size typically will help. There's always a point at which group size, and we'll talk about that in a second. What's the problem with group size? Why is, it doesn't matter what task you're doing, why is group size a challenge in the long term?
communication.
Communication,
Conflict,
Process
Conflict.
losses. Process losses.
process law.
process loss, right? So yes, technically, we should be able to produce a lot more with 1,000 than with 10. However, 1,000 now needs to be compartmentalized. We have to have supervision, we have to have communication, we have to have coordination. So all these additional things that we have to do take away from the potential. So your actual performance is everything it should have been minus all the process loss. So yes, to your point, 1,000 people are not needed to build a single house, but 10 is better than 1. I'll bet you 20 is better than 10. Okay, so additive task, group size for an additive task. Bigger is better, but always to a point. Diversity, does it help or does it not help?
Helps.
It helps. Everything in Excel excess eventually comes back to bite you. But it does help. Having different skills, different contribution, you cannot have 100 carpenters build a house. You need plumbers, electricians, and so on. Okay, so diversity does help. What's a disjunctive task?
Where the performance of the group relies on the best performer.
So the performance of the group is dependent on the best performer. Okay, so you have 1-star researcher, 1-star accountant, 1-star lawyer who has access to information and knowledge. So the lead accountant for an accounting team, right? So having that great mind that everyone can turn to will determine the success of the group. So size for disjunctive tasks.
Bigger is better because you have more people, you have more of the best people.
So you have more chance of getting one superstar.
Right.
All you need is one superstar to determine the success because it's determined by the best. So the larger the group size, the more likely you are to find a star.
Right.
Okay? Conjunctive tasks. The performance of the group is determined by the least performing person, the worst performer. So the weakest link determines the success. I have an assembly line of 5 people. Whether the weakest link is at the beginning or the end, the finished product will not make it here because of one potential bottleneck. So, group size bigger or smaller? What's better?
Smaller.
Why smaller?
Because there's less chance of having that people.
The bigger the group size, the more likely you are mathematically to get a weak member of the team. So a conveyor system of 3 is less likely to have one very weak link than a conveyor of 300. You're likely to have one person, and if it takes 300 steps in the assembly line, there's a very good chance that one person can screw up the entire line because of their weak performance. Okay, good. Norms and roles in social interactions. We can just read through that. Understand that we look at social interactions both on a societal level as well as an organizational level. Understand what norms exist and what norms are made up of within an organization. We can have hard work norms, appearance norms, attendance norms, absenteeism norms. Okay, so there are many different types of norms that arise in social contexts. Okay? Cohesiveness. Is a cohesive group good?
Could be good, could be bad.
When is it good?
Good when they're,
More people are attracted to it.
When more people?
Attracted to it. Makes it like,
One is beneficial.
When the organization, the benefit is to the organization, having a cohesive group is good. Because cohesive groups are really good at what? What are they really good at?
Achieving our goals.
Achieving their own goals. Okay? A cohesive group is great at achieving its goal. Now, if its goal is also in line with the organization's goal, perfect. That's what you want. Okay? So group cohesiveness is great. Now, there are consequences to group cohesiveness. Give me a consequence. Give me a positive consequence of a cohesive group.
Reluctance to change.
Okay, that's not positive, but that's a negative consequence, is reluctance, or typically not very fond of change because they're very cohesive.
conformity,
Conformity, okay,
participation.
communication,
They work all together?
they work well together. There's a certain level that brings about what? What does that bring about?
Participation, so there's lower turnover and absenteeism.
Lower turnover, low absenteeism, and more participation leads to higher success and perceived satisfaction in the individual as well. Okay, people report greater satisfaction in a cohesive group. Okay, what is the downside of it?
I'll stop.
Positive?
Yeah, I just had a question. Is it okay to say that they don't want to let each other down as well because they are, a group that plays,
Interdependent. Is right, there's interdependence, where you don't want to let the other part of your group down.
Right.
What's the downside of it though? What are some of the negative consequences of group cohesion?
Reduce performance, or like their benefit. If they all kind of slow down, so it looks.
Okay, but there are a few that we can talk about.
When the organizational objective doesn't correlate to their individual objective.
They may have their own agenda, that's possible. Yes, there is a possibility that their goals are not in line with the organization's. No, there's pressure to conform. That is one of the, so there's pressure to conform. What else is there sometimes? Social loafing comes a little bit later, yeah, it's possible later. Right, there's a couple of things that come in. What happens in groups?
It's hard for someone else to come in.
It's very difficult, yes. It's very hard to get in. Keep going.
Tough to initiate.
Yes, that makes a group, typically very cohesive groups make it very difficult for people to join them, yes. Okay. But what do they tend to do? They tend to all, there's an illusion of unanimity, right? There's an illusion that they're unanimous with everything they do and say and think. Okay? For the sake of the group, people tend to bite their tongues. What is that called? Self-censorship. Good. What else do they tend to do? They think a certain way. Groupthink.
They become less diverse.
Pardon me?
They become less diverse in the way they think.
They exclude people who are not like them, that's right. So they start to make up, you know, us versus them mentality. So there's a stereotypical kind of treating of outsiders. Okay, just read that chapter over, okay, folks? Make sure you understand. Understanding that cohesiveness is good, but it can also lead to negatives. One of the things that was brought up, Mr. Goodman, social loafing, two kinds, what are they?
Free rider,
Free rider, sucker effect. What's a free rider?
They don't do anything.
Person doesn't, well, they both don't do anything, right? They both kind of slack off. What is a free rider? A person who goes along, you don't do anything because you think everyone else is going to do it for you. Exactly. You don't do your share of the work. What's the sucker effect?
when you see these free riders and you say, well, I'm not gonna do anything if there's a bunch of free riders.
Yeah, I don't feel like being the idiot who's pulling everyone along, so I'm gonna slack off as well. You wanna play that game? Two can play that game. That's the sucker effect. Okay? Are we okay with this chapter?
Just the cohesive, this kind
You want me to, well, that's what I'm
of. No,
Okay,
Just
read over, it's in the book, it's very, very clearly stated, there's a number of subsections that you should be aware of.
Do you like the cohesiveness of the bigger parts of that chapter to attention to, or?
Stages, groups, I want you to know all of it,
Yeah.
okay? I think understanding diversity, understanding the tasks, so be sure you're comfortable with it, okay? Norms, I want you to just read it over. If it's on this slide, it's there for a reason. Okay, I want you to make sure you read it.
Do we need to focus on the different elements?
Understand how they form, about what they form. Okay, make sure you know what the form norm is about. All right, organizational culture. Right, we talked about shared beliefs, values, and assumptions that are shared by the organization. That makes up the culture, correct? Yes. Straightforward enough? Well, give me an asset of a strong culture. What is coordination? What does that mean? It's a good thing, right? You think a strong culture has a sense of coordination. What do we mean by coordination? Working together. Organized, groups function, they're not dysfunctional. The whole notion of the asset of a strong culture is that people are all communicating because they have shared beliefs, values, and assumptions. Right? They all believe in the same thing and want to work for the same ultimate goal. Therefore, they'll adapt, they'll collaborate, they'll accommodate somebody, they'll work with people. Okay, so the work is done in a very coordinated fashion. That's why it's good. You can't just say coordination if I ask you what it is. Conflict resolution, right? If you're on the same page and you're interested in the same outcome, you're not going to waste too much time fighting within your own team. All right? That's why it's a positive thing. Financial success, less waste. Better coordination, better conflict resolution makes it such that you put more time producing whatever your organization produces. Therefore, less waste, more efficiencies lead to greater financial success. Okay? Liabilities, the downside of it. If you're a very strong culture and you're very set in your ways, change is not easy. Right? Change is not easy in the best of times. Imagine when you're very ingrained and you believe that the way your organization operates is the only way it should be. You believe that you are the protectors of all things that are proper. And then all of a sudden, hey, it's time to change. Well, you say, wait a second, no. This is the way it's supposed to be. We've always been different from them. You can't, for a second, say, oh my goodness, they've been right all along, we have to change? No. So there's a tremendous resistance to change. And if, for whatever reason, you merge, or you acquire, or you join forces with another company, your culture is likely to clash with that other company, especially in times when two companies get together, which happens when you consolidate an industry, when a company is acquired or mergers are created, okay? And pathology, sometimes having a strong culture around competitiveness. Sometimes a strong culture is very, very cutthroat, okay? And so sometimes there's something ill, something sick with the organizational culture, where secrecy might be part of the culture, distrust, okay? We clear with that? You understand those? How do you diagnose a actual culture? What do you look for? As an outsider, there are only a few things you can do, right? You can look at symbols, look at the logos they use, they're used to communicate information, right? Rituals, things that they do, whatever those rituals are, whether they're the way we praise people, the way we reprimand people, the way we honor successes, the way we celebrate what we do. Okay, so the activities that we engage in are the rituals. And of course the stories. I told you that story from my wife's former employer and how they made a big deal out of the top salesperson receiving a huge check and a car. Okay? These stories are transmitted from generation to generation, and it speaks to what the organization stands for. It speaks to the values and beliefs. Okay? So that's what we use to diagnose a culture. Know that. Okay. Cool. Whoa. Yes?
Do you need to know the socialization process in strong cultures?
No.
Great.
We didn't do socialization. Anything else? We're good? Very good. Leadership. Leadership. Formal leadership. Clear. Okay? Assigned. People who are assigned a leadership role. People who do not just emerge out of necessity, but people who are named to head a department, a company, a division, as the case may be. Trait theory of leadership. People are born with certain traits. That is, they are born and they act because they have this particular gift to lead. We know that that's not necessarily true. We looked instead of what leaders are. They're tall, they're smart, they're this. Although we do know that leaders possess certain characteristics, right? Effective leaders possess certain characteristics, but we don't believe that they're just born with them. We are more interested in how leaders behave. So we look at the whole idea, we categorized it at one time into two types of behaviors. The consideration, the caring, the concern for people, versus the concern for task, or the process. Consideration is the concern for people and their well-being. Concern for task is about initiating structure, giving direction, assigning work, evaluating performance. Okay, the rudimentary work. Now, House took it a step further. You should know this. He took the same two, directive, which is initiating structure, and supportive behavior, which is consideration, same thing, and he added two additional dimensions. The notion of participative behavior, which brings in the whole idea of Tenenbaum and Schmidt, if you recall from 210. Participative behavior, at what point do leaders allow their subordinates to be part of the decision-making process? And then achievement-oriented behavior, or the coaching model of management, trying to get people to outperform their perception of themselves, trying to do better than they thought they could do. Okay? We're good with that? All right, so no House. Participative leadership is basically Tannenbaum and Schmidt revisited, understanding why is it good to have participative leadership? What comes out of participative leadership? Employee engagement. What else? Why would you involve employees?
Just more opinions.
More opinions.
More informed, and they have a meaningfulness to their job. And
very good. It comes into the group decision making in the next chapter, but it requires a participative leader to have group decision making. Okay, so they are linked. Good. Transactional leader. What's a transactional leader? What does she do? Yes.
A question in terms of participative leadership. Do we need to know the situation model or participation model? Like where Broom and Jago, I think it's called?
Broom and Jago model, yeah. No, it's good to understand. It puts it in perspective for you, so read it. But no, you want to give the Broom Jago situation leadership model. What does a transactional leader do? It's an exchange relationship. I pay you, you work. What does that person oversee? What does that person focus on? Give me an example of a thing that a transactional leader does. Measures performance, order people around, assigns tasks, distributes resources, takes care of the operational side of the business, makes sure that things are getting done, tells people what to do, how to do it, when to do it, ensures that the business functions. Okay, the day-to-day, the here and now. What does a transformational leader do?
Inspire people with the vision.
Charisma,
Inspires people with a vision.
charisma,
Charisma is one of the underlying factors that contribute to
Yeah.
transformational leaders. What else?
individualized consideration. Individualized consideration.
Which means what? What is individualized consideration?
Treating people as distinct individuals.
Yeah.
Individuals.
Not treating people as a group, not as everybody, but
Mentoring and
as
coaching. Mentoring and coaching.
mentoring and coaching, speaking to people one-on-one, yes. What else? One more.
Intellectual stimulation.
Intellectual stimulation, good, one more. And inspirational
Motivation.
motivation, very good. Not just, hey, rah, rah, but trying to get them to see well above and beyond what they thought they could do. Okay? Is it good to be one or the other?
Both, but transformation is more, not important, but yeah, it's more important, I guess.
It depends where the organization is, it's important to have both. You cannot run a company just on a transformational leader. Typically, transformational leaders are also transactional. They know they have to do the work, they know it's important, they know that stuff has to get done, and some stuff is unpleasant, but it needs to get done anyway. Okay? Transactional leaders don't necessarily see the transformational side of their role. Okay? And transformational leaders look to create a vision that can bring people together towards the attainment of a goal that's way down in the future. Those of you who remember 210, Collins and Torres talked about visioning, ideology, okay? BHAGs, that comes in on the transformational side.
The research evidence that comes up on the slides, is it just for our own understanding?
Yeah.
Because, yeah, you wouldn't really use,
And you can use it as an example. If I say, give me an example, the research evidence would say this is useful in these cases,
okay.
or non-conclusive in others. It's
Some
more
of
for
it
your
is just
information.
like, don't, like, it's not very straightforward. The evidence is very, like, it can, it may, it may
If you
not.
read that same section in the book though, there'll be a little bit more information. The slides are very much a summary, so they're designed to help guide your reading and where your eyes go in the book, but the book has all the information. They're quite long, but I've given you sometimes 100, 110 slides, because it summarizes all the key points. You need to go to the book, because some things can be very generic. You're right, good point. Okay? Good. Almost there. Decision making, what's a well-structured problem? 3 components.
Choice.
3 components of a well-structured problem. The repetitive and familiar, but there are 3.
Choice. Not choice.
The objective is clear.
Okay, so the existing, the current state is known. The desired state, the goal, is known. And how to get from here to there is very clear. A well-structured problem has a known starting point, known end point, and a known path to get from A to B. That's a well-structured problem. It can be often solved with a program, right? You can program it. It can be done by a machine, by a computer. It does not require our intervention. We're all about the ill-structured problems. Ill-structured problems are ones where, just like the well-structured problem,
The current state is unknown.
current state is unknown,
The
future
desired
state,
is unknown.
not really sure, and how to get there, clearly unknown. Too many variables, too many moving parts to the problem. And that's where we need your brains to fix the problem, okay? So a perfectly rational decision maker has access, yes,
What would be an example of an ill-structured problem?
everything.
Everything, anything?
Everything that cannot be programmed,
Okay.
okay? Anything that cannot be programmed. Something, a very basic ill-structured problem is, I'm hungry. Yes, eat, but eating is a simple answer. Where do I eat? How much will it cost? Do I eat at home, do I go out? So there's multiple variables. Now, the fact that you're hungry already, you fixed part of the problem. And you know you're gonna have to eat, that's the process. But what is it that you do? So that's a very, very super basic a typical ill-structured problem is, we invest in new equipment, we expand into new markets. We know that now we're sort of in the place we need to be for the market share we have, but you don't know what the competition is doing. We know that if we invest here, it's going to cost so much money, but we're not certain of the outcome. So you have to analyze all the various parts to determine whether or not path A or path B makes sense. Okay? Perfectly rational decision maker. What does the perfectly rational decision maker have at his or her disposal?
All the
All information.
Knows everything there is to know.
Yeah.
Is it expensive?
No.
It's free. Does it take a long time to have it, to get it?
No.
Immediate. Google is a perfectly rational decision maker. Okay? Access to all information instantly for no cost. Not realistic. We are making decisions under bounded rationality, which means what? What is bounded rationality?
Balance, after,
You gotta take into consideration, I can take more time to get more information, but it's gonna cost me more money, or more time, or maybe I'll have too much information that I have to then analyze. So we work with a good enough model. A model that gives us enough information to make an informed decision. Is it perfect? No decision is ever perfect. In hindsight, it might be perfect. Like in hindsight, it might be completely wrong. But looking forward, you don't know in advance. So you make up your mind based on the best available information within the confines. If we have a fire to put out now, we will certainly not spend weeks and weeks trying to find the best solution for how to put it out. We use what is immediately available to us to put out that fire. And I'm not saying fire, but an emergency within an organization. If the problem is not immediate and it can take more time, well, you've got more time to accumulate more information. Again, you're making decisions under bounded rationality based on limited or access to limited information. Okay? What affects our decision-making process? Framing, cognitive bias.
Framing is when pass. It's when it's like you're presenting it in a way that can cause a bias. So you're presenting information that just in the presentation itself can cause a bias.
Yeah. So between A and B, how do you think we should solve this problem? By saying between A and B, I'm basically discounting 24 of the letters in the alphabet.
Right.
Okay, so by setting it up in a particular perspective, you are setting it up for more error to sneak into the solution. Very good. I saw a hand up before, I thought.
Is framing an aspect of cognitive bias?
Yes.
Is it a part of it?
Yes. Okay. Read up on cognitive biases. There's lots of cognitive biases throughout the book. Just go through your notes and read them, please. And you know. Okay, and the impact these cognitive biases have on the decision-making process. Okay, try to go back and have a look at them. What is escalation of commitment?
It's when you're more committed after some costs.
Okay, yes.
Oh, well, escalating commitment is just the escalation of like you're more and more committed to a project.
Yes.
Sometimes it's when you have difficulty admitting you were at fault and you just continue doing the same thing and it just goes deeper.
You're both right, exactly. So you are continuing to apply resources or commit resources to a failing course of action.
So the assumption is it's failing when you say escalation of commitment.
Well, if it's working, then it's not a problem, it's just,
Yeah, I know, but like,
just working.
can it still be working and you can have an escalation of commitment if it's working, right?
No.
Okay,
So
so
the
the
escalation
escalation
commitment
negative.
is where you're basing your decisions on some cost. I've spent so much money so far, we're getting so close, but you haven't arrived yet. You spend a lot of money and you're still not where you should be. So